Hello my beautiful brick builders, and welcome to my light kit review. I thought I would start with giving you my ideas on the actual kits themselves, and then stay tuned to see how the builds went, the details of the treehouse and the details of actually adding the light kits to each treehouse. We will start with ease of use. So turning them on is simple on both of them. There's a simple switch on the power brick boxes, just off and on. For the Yaya Bricks set, there's no other functionality. There's no adjustments, there's no brightness changes. You can't turn any of them off or on. It's either on or off. For the Bricks Max, you have a little more control because they do all slide into the port, so you have individual access to each one. If you want to pull out any of the lights, maybe there's too many lights, you can always just take them out because they're separate, whereas in the Yaya Brick set, they're all together. It's all or nothing. Now you can't turn these on or off with a switch. It is either unplug it from the source, the power source, or keep it plugged in, and then you have on and off, and you can adjust the level of flicker and what that does. So there's a little knob here that I can rotate around, and you can see it adjusts how much flicker is happening at the top, and you can see the change in the lights at the bottom as well. Then you can change, there's another switch that adjusts whether it's flashing. So you've got, I guess, maybe flickering and flashing. And there's 3 different settings on that as well. So you have the, I like to call it the thunderstorm, because especially from the bottom, the lights underneath the branches, it looks like a thunderstorm. Both light kit options have the same kind of power brick with batteries inside. They're slightly different on the outside. This one looks like you might be able to add some things to it. I haven't tried, but you can maybe decorate around the outside to hide it a bit better in the actual city, and this one is plain. The cords themselves, you can see this is the Bricks Max, and the cords or wires here all pull in from those individual lights and come to the connector here, and you can see them falling down. There are these sticky pads here, and I have been unable to get them to stay up. There's the connectors, and you can see how the wires come in. There is a recommendation to twist these together here, so I did that a little too late, basically. I realized what they were telling me to do after I had connected them to this wire, or to the bank here, and then it was kind of too late. It didn't quite work because the longer ones are too long, so I'll need to take them out of here and twist them to then hide more in the branches or in the trunk here. Coming from the branch or the leaves, it does hide really well in the branches, and you can put them pretty easily behind each of those pieces. So you can see under there, it hides fairly well. And all the individual colors. And then underneath, there are some bricks here that have the white light across. Those I had to stick them in individually. So the sticker is not, or there is a sticker on the back of this that you put together with the brick itself. You can look inside. So there's more of those 1x6s that have the lights attached, and they connect at the end there, and the wires are just kind of inside. I'm sure you could hide them a little better than I did if you really wanted to, since there's not a lot of visual access. I didn't worry too much about it. As we go around, you can see there's more wires coming out and around here. So I could, if I was going to keep this one attached, I would probably take these bricks off and hide this wire a bit better. But you can see there's the black and white on there that kind of sticks out like a sore thumb on the sets. I was a bit surprised by that. I thought the red and black might hide a little better against the brown, but it sticks out pretty heavily too. I do like this around the trunk, but I don't like that it flickers. I want to turn that flicker off. So we come over to the Yaya bricks, which, as I mentioned before, it is the same as the light tailing. I don't know if the light tailing would be brighter. I think this is pretty bright for me though. It works well. You can see the minifigs are all lit up. And there's a little color, so we've got some green and some white. I'm not 100% sure that I did it exactly right, because there's this blue. It's the only hut that's blue. And then there's another blue light on the branches here. So there's a possibility that I did that wrong. And there's a couple of lights at the top. Again, it's green, blue, and white or yellow on this set, and you've got more color options on the Bricks Max. When I was just looking at the pieces for each of the sets, I really thought the Bricks Max was going to end up being easier because you get more control with each of those wires. But because there's so many wires coming out of each trunk section and they combine into just two of those ports, the port pieces, and they're right next to each other, all of the wires kind of combine in one place. And I think if there were multiples of those and they were spread out, you would have an easier way of hiding those wires versus having them all bunched up under that one branch there. I did want to point out that they each kind of come out of the set essentially at different spots. So the brick itself, the battery pack, will come out at a different section. There was no other way to have the Yaya bricks box come out because of the length of the wires and where they're put. At least not that I could tell. Maybe somebody who's more mechanical would know how to do that, but the wires do hide really well until you get to the box. So I'm thinking I'll put a hill nearby, and that hill will hide the box. Just have a little access point to turn the set on and off. Again, if there was a remote, if I had sprung for the remote version, it probably would have been easier versus having to turn this off and on. And then on the Bricks Max set, it comes out kind of by the mushrooms and near the swing. So I can move this a little easier. I can move it around a little bit more because the final cord isn't attached to a specific light. Right, so you have a little bit more flexibility on where to put that and which part of the tree you want to highlight. So if you really want the swing and the stairs, which I think is the most activity is going to be from this angle, right? Because you've got the hook, the swing, and you can see the stairs on the side there. So you can hide the box completely. We do the same angle on the other set. Because the box is over by the mushroom, it's perfectly fine. But you don't get to see the lit up mushroom. So because of the way this light kit is done, I would display it differently. Right, I would probably display it from this angle instead. So for the price and the ease of inputting the lights, I would say the Yay Bricks was a much better deal. Again, it was about $17 on clearance. Now again, this is an older set, so the light kit is probably, they're probably trying to get rid of it, right? Because the set isn't going to be around much longer. And for brightness and livelihood and customization, I would do the Bricks Max. So for the trunk, if you don't like the trunk lights, those would be really easy to just remove altogether. And then you'd have the rest of the set, and you could add the trunk lights for Christmas only, or however you wanted to do it. But which one do you like? Which one would be your preference? Now we'll take a step back and see how it all started and what the process was like all the way through. So if you saw my short, then you know that the super cheap kit and the light tailing kit are exactly the same. They even have the same instructions. So my AFL mathing ended up working out just perfectly. So I'm gonna have one tree that uses the cheaper kit and one tree that uses the Brick Max kit. And after a couple of reviews of the instructions, I think I'm gonna start with the Brick Max. Before we add the light kit, we have to build the treehouse. This was actually the second time that I've built the treehouse. I built it last year. It was much easier this time around. I realized I had started way too soon with such a big set. I had to stop and show the diamond that is hiding in the set. There's a little cubby hole right there. And the instruction booklet shows that it's the caretaker.
You know, a park ranger. Now we know why he's so dedicated to the tree. So you might not know it by looking at the tree house, but there's actually a decent amount of technique involved to stabilize it, and it is really a sturdy build. I do wish there was a little more creativity with the water, maybe add a little bit different color underneath, or add some translucent blue cheese wedges to make it look like it's moving. As we come up the trunk, you're using some more Technic pieces to hold it on, and it does make it very, very sturdy. I actually carry the set around by the trunk and nothing ever falls off. Then we build out the branches that hold each of the little huts so that we could finish off the trunk going all the way up. I'm very grateful for all the colorful pieces that LEGO used to help distinguish which side of the tree you're putting everything on. I did make a mistake a few times and had to adjust that inner piece, but it was always quick to adjust because of those colored pieces.
Scissors under the bed. Why? Why do you put scissors under the bed?
There are so many cute little details in all of the larger LEGO sets, but that one I just didn't understand. Maybe somebody can explain it to me in the comments. The way the huts are built is pretty unique. There was a lot of unusual build techniques for those windows, especially the round ones. We're building and then flipping things upside down. It made it kind of fun, but also interesting. I don't know if I'd ever use that technique anywhere else. Part of me wishes I had stopped and showed you some more details on the interior of the sets, but I think I would have been stopping every 2 seconds at this point because there's so many cute little details in each hut. I absolutely love the little bridge that connects the two huts. I'm definitely going to use that in a mock at some point. I don't know how or where, but I am, because it's just too cute. All right, I think it's time to speed this up. I wanted to take a quick moment to look at each set before I start opening any bags from any of the sets. So if you saw my short, you know that Yeah Bricks, I think is what the brand, how you would pronounce that. Yay Bricks? Yee Bricks? I don't know. Is the exact same as the light tailing, just has the instructions online. So I am going to return the light tailing. I'm not going to open any of those packages, and I'm going to return it and use the cheaper version, and we'll compare that to the brickbacks. But I'm glad I got both so that I know where it came from and how all of that works, and just go for whichever one is more on sale if I decide to use that brand after comparing the completely wired version to the broken apart. So you can see how many more packages there are in this Bricks Max set, and it will be each piece is added separately, right, and then combined at the end. I think I've mentioned that. At least based on the instructions, that's what it looks like. So we'll see exactly how it goes. Just take a look at this real quick. So to get some more detail, you've got the tweezers. It's to make sure you don't mishandle, and if you don't have small fingers like I do, you might need the tweezers to handle the tiny wires. But as you can see, there's individual wires. Each one is labeled with its letter and number, and the instructions coordinate with these so that you know at what point you're adding each of them and where. And then they combine to the brick, the power source there. And with both the Yeah Bricks and light tailing, you have the power brick, and then all of the pieces are together. So you can see here, they're just wrapped with a twist tie, but they're all linked, right? It's all the same wire. So you have to be careful how you link them up or hide the different wires. Make sure that they're a certain distance apart, so that the lights are in their correct spaces. So I think, from my limited understanding and experience, I think this is going to be harder to use than the Brick Max, but again, I've never done that. It just sounds like it would make more sense to have less, or rather have a larger window of error possibility, right? Because they're not linked together. So they still have to combine, so you still have to be aware of the location and making sure that all the wires can come together at a given point. So I went ahead and started doing the light kit just to see if I could follow the instructions and see what was happening in the steps. There's a lot of close-ups of the pieces, and it doesn't really point to where you're pulling from on the set itself. It's just like, hey, grab this branch. The first one was unique because it's the only one that has this joint here on this part of the tree. So I knew I could follow that one, and you can see where the lights are installed, and then they have actual Lego pieces that go on top of each light. So now we're gonna go forward and see if I can follow the rest and at least get it. I figure if I know if it's a top branch or a bottom branch, then the instructions should probably be fairly similar to each lower level branch versus higher level, because the key is going to be having the wires that are long enough to reach the connection point.
So let's go. So this is the step I just finished. So we're moving here, and it looks like they're saying to flip over the whole top of the branch or top of the tree and then pull off a branch. From the picture, it looks like it's the very next branch next to it. So it wasn't flip it, it was turn it. So I'm glad I looked at that again. So I'm just going to take off this branch and we'll find the wires that go to it.
So once I got going, it did become pretty repetitive in that you're pulling off the branch, you're putting in the light from the top of the leaf, adding in that clear piece, and then zigzagging the wire into the space between two bricks. And you just repeat that for each one. I did worry that the little lights would get crushed by the Lego piece, but that never happened, and they all work just fine. This is that zigzag that I was talking about. So you'd pull off the side plate and then zigzag across the branch and then replace that side plate. And then do the same thing on the other side. So you put the little light through the top, pull the wire through, and zigzag that wire across the side. Once it was through, you would take the wires and wrap them slightly around the Technic pieces that connect the branch to the trunk. And here you can see all the wires coming out of the bottom. And that's the wires that I was supposed to wrap together before putting the plates back on the trunk of the tree. And didn't do that, and now I have a bunch of wires. Now that the branches are done, it's time to do the pieces around the trunk and the cottages. And here you can see I'm grabbing that light and sticking it to the 1x6 plate. And we had to do that for each one of the cabins as well as some of the undercarriage lights. So anything that I showed at the beginning that has the 1x6s, all of those have stickers on the back of them. And then you add the connective wires to each end of that before placing it into the cottage, as you see here. So I had to go in multiple directions, and I wanted to make sure that I was pulling the wire in exactly the right place. So I checked the instructions a few times, and then there was additional wires that were being added on. So I wanted to make sure that the long wire went in the right way and the short wire went the right way, and it all seemed to work out. Here's another 1x6, and you can see in this clip a little better about how I have to pick up the wall in the cabin here in just a minute and thread that wire through the wall and then replace it. And I was a little nervous about doing that. I thought everything was going to fall apart, so I was very careful and nothing fell, so it was just fine. Now we got to take each of those wires and add it to the ports. Or what I'm calling the ports, I don't know, maybe the motherboard? Somebody tell me what that's called. But you stick all of the little wires into a long, it looked like a 1x6. I think I showed it to you at the beginning of the video. And so they're all connected there and then stickered on.
So now we'll jump into the Yaya bricks, and you can see some of the differences and how they're built. I don't go into quite as much detail on the Yaya bricks installation because it's very similar about taking off the bricks or the plates and then winding the wires through. It's all the same method there.
Doing a little test run, make sure all the lights work before starting the build. This is one thing you can't do with the BricsMax set because you have to put the wires through before you connect them. I guess if you tweezer them apart, you could. It looks like they're all working. Another blinking light. I don't know if it's supposed to be blinking. Let's untangle them. Did have to pull off the clear pieces for the water since there are those lights within the water itself. I liked having the lights on while I was installing them. It seemed to help make sense of where things were supposed to go and making sure that everything was still working properly.
Right, so here we are with the Yaya bricks all done. And you can see the blue bathroom light, the white lights in the cabins, and the yellow lights for the lanterns. You come down and the mushroom is lit up and some of the water is lit up too. I think that's kind of nice. And the flickering light that I saw before is for the campfire, so that makes sense. You've got some lights from under the trees as well. So another little blue light. So I'm not sure if maybe I messed up and put the blue light in the bathroom and it was supposed to go on one of the trees. But I kind of like it in there. It gives it a sauna feel. And I was able to get lights everywhere that seemed to need them. They've got all of the lanterns lit up and all of the rooms have lights. But there wasn't much for the actual branches. I don't know if it shows properly on the screen, but they are green lights in the branches. So I ended up really liking the lights all stuck together for this build. In the last one that I did with the lighting kit, or light tailing kit, was a building, and it was much harder to get it across everything. But in here it fit very smoothly. Didn't have to take too much of it apart to hide the wires, and I think the wires hide much better on this set. In the Bricks Max, turn that one on too. The white lights are much brighter than the yellow lights. The whole tree is really well lit up, but I can't seem to get it to not do any flickering. It's either a little bit of flickering or a lot of flickering. So I'm wondering if the remote control version of the Bricks Max would allow you to turn off the flickering altogether, but I did not get a remote control version, so I'm trying to adjust it. And this is what we get. So you can see the difference. This is more natural, it seems to me, but the Bricks Max has more animation with the flickering, and the lights are much brighter. But as I was saying, you can hide the wires pretty well on the Yaya bricks set. There's some that you can see around some of the branches, and you can see I tried to hide them here by zigzagging around, but leaving space so that the minifigs wouldn't trip. But with the Bricks Max, I didn't do the twisting that it recommended, and you can see that was a really bad idea. So you've got to really twist the wires to hide them properly. And then the sticker pieces, so these pieces have stickers on the back of them, and they don't stick. I've pushed them on multiple times and they're just not staying. These also use the stickers on them, and it did take multiple times of pushing them again and again to finally get the sticker part to stay on the brick. And with the Yaya bricks, they give you the little separate bricks, as you saw as I was unwinding them. The lights are actually built into the bricks, so I think that's a much better situation. And all of them, right, all of the lights have a brick attached to them, except for the ones that, no, actually I take that back. Those actually had a little, they're on the bottom of these as well, this little stud. The lights are on that stud. And in the Bricks Max, you're putting the lights in. So the light is, it's not on a piece. You're not replacing any pieces. It is inside. And then you use the standard Lego piece that came with it. So I'm really curious, which one do you like more? Which one would you keep? Do you like the more natural light with no flickering and lighting the campsite in the sauna for the bathroom? Or do you like the activity and the flickering and all the different colors? So each of the colors that you saw, all the different packages earlier, each color was in a separate package. And so that's what the different labels were for. So you can have the yellow on the lamps, the white inside, blue, pink, green in the branches. Because I can't do anything part way, I've already jumped in and purchased some more light kits. I found one called Game of Bricks, and this one seems to have some pieces on strings and some that are just the strings with the tiny lights, like the Bricks Max version. So we'll see, there's a little string of lights, like the fairy lights I think they're called. So we'll have to see how that one goes, and I'll do that review in another video. Here's the connector, like the Bricks Max connectors that have those tiny ends on them. And I also have a Bricks Max set for the Hocus Pocus cabin. I'm very curious to see if this is as challenging to hide the wires as it was on the treehouse. I will be much better at following the instructions on this one and do any kind of twisting that it recommends and see if that makes it look a lot better. And then I'm also very curious if there's any flickering and if I can control it better. Because that's an older set, maybe the light kit is older too and the controls are a little older style. That's what I'm hoping for. But come back and see these two sets on my next video.